This is the simplest lucid dreaming technique in the world. Have you ever laid outside at night, looking up at a clear sky, doing nothing, just watching, and then suddenly there's a shooting star? For a second, time stops and it almost feels unreal. Your mind wasn't looking for it, you weren't expecting it, but there it was anyway. And in that moment, there's a strange shift in awareness. You're suddenly fully present. Now, imagine that same feeling, but instead of looking up at the night sky and seeing a shooting star, you see one while you're dreaming. And in that instant, you realize, wait, hold on a second, this isn't real. I'm dreaming. This is what I call the Stargazer technique, and it's so simple. You don't have to do anything at all. You don't have to practice reality checks, you don't have to wake up at strange hours, you don't need to become aware of your surroundings. You just watch. And this is probably my favorite and most used lucid dreaming technique. And not only that, I've seen hundreds of lucid dreaming students and natural lucid dreamers stumble across this technique by chance, leading to regular lucid dreams. The history of Stargazer. So this idea of just watching, doing nothing, yet becoming deeply aware isn't new. It's not something I just made up for lucid dreaming. In fact, it's one of the oldest practices in the world. For thousands of years, monks, mystics, and philosophers across many different cultures have practiced effortless awareness, a state where the mind is fully engaged, but without force. And if you really think about it, many of your most profound realizations in life have come about not through doing, but simply through observing, simply through watching. In Zen Buddhism, there is a meditative practice called Shikan Taza, and you may know it as Zazen. Shikan Taza basically translates to just sitting. It's not just sitting whilst watching your breath, it's not just sitting with a goal, it is just sitting. You don't need to concentrate, you don't need to force anything, you're not trying to achieve anything. In fact, Shikan Taza is essentially useless. But that's the point. It's meditation without meditation, and that's why it works. Because when you stop trying to force awareness, it just happens naturally. The moment you stop looking for something, it appears. The moment you stop trying to control your thoughts, your mind clears. Imagine a jar of muddy water. Shaking it isn't going to clear the water, but if you leave it, it will settle and clarify naturally. And this is the same principle behind the Stargazer practice. Or you could call it Shikan Shonin, just witnessing. And as we've discussed in previous videos, in Taoism there is the concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action. It's the concept of not forcing but allowing something to happen naturally. And when you think about it, both sleep and dreams fit that category perfectly. You can't make yourself sleep, you can't make yourself dream, you allow it to happen naturally. The more you try to force lucid dreams, the more effort you put into it, the more you're tripping yourself up. It's like shouting for silence. And this is where it all comes together, because lucid dreaming isn't something you make happen, it's something you notice. The Science of Stargazer. Humans like to put things into categories. We like to box the world up into neat little packages. There's aware and unaware, conscious, unconscious, awake, asleep. But we also do it with sleep itself. We've broken sleep up into many different stages, many different categories. Non-REM, REM, deep sleep, hypnagogia, sleep paralysis, the list goes on and on. But nature is messy and untamed, and things don't make sense. They don't fit into neat categories. There is no such thing as a single state of consciousness or a single kind of dream. Sleep and consciousness are organic. They morph, they change, they fluctuate, they evolve. And at first glance, the Stargazer technique might appear to be something targeting hypnagogia, the hallucinations that occur prior to sleep. but that would be the wrong way to look at it. While it's really useful to know the various different categories of stages of sleep, when performing Stargazer, forget all of them. The moment you invoke a word such as hypnagogia or dream, you're starting to get caught up in conceptual baggage. You're starting to split the world up into meaningless, arbitrary patterns. So essentially, there is no science to the Stargazer technique. This is Shikan Shonin, just witnessing. Whatever occurs, don't try to categorize it. You are simply letting whatever happens happen without any judgment, without any assessment, without any action on your behalf at all. And that includes trying to make sense of it. The Stargazer technique. So let's think back to that moment you saw the shooting star. Completely unexpected, yet there you were witnessing it, noticing it, recognizing it. That's what we're going to use for the Stargazer practice. Step 1, just watching. So when you go to bed at night, or anytime you wake up in the night, here's what I want you to imagine. But imagine is probably the wrong word. Here's what I want you to believe or to feel. You're not trying with this. So think that with your eyes closed, that you're laying on your back, looking into a deep, dark sky, not a moonlit sky, not a sky full of stars, but the pure, infinite blackness of space. So you're trying to get past the idea that you're just looking at the back of your eyelids. Instead, really try to feel that you're looking into three-dimensional space, out towards space itself. You're not trying to visualize anything. You're not trying to see anything. You have no expectations. You're simply looking into this infinite three-dimensional darkness. And here's the thing. Dreams don't occur in the imagination. It's not the same space where you would visualize or imagine something. Your dreams occur in what I call perceptual space. So the same space that you're witnessing right now, out beyond your eyes. So when you're looking into the darkness behind closed eyelids, into the vastness of space, you are looking into your brain, into the perceptual processing space of your brain. But you don't need to think about all that complexity. For the purpose of this practice, simply imagine that you're lying on your back, looking up into the darkness of infinity. Step 2, passive observation. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because this is all you're going to do. You're lying in bed with your eyes closed, but you're looking into the darkness of space, into that three-dimensional space. Now, many things could occur depending on which stage of sleep you're entering into. And remember, we don't need to think in those terms. You might get mini hallucinations. Your mind might start to wander. So what you're doing here is you're kind of splitting your consciousness in two ways. You're observing the darkness, but you're also observing yourself, metacognition. So you're maintaining that awareness of yourself to make sure that you're still observing what's going on in the darkness. But if anything happens, anything at all, you do not react. You don't care. You are apathetic. You are passive. Even if there's a impressive hallucination, simply witness, do not respond. Step 3, waiting without wanting. So this is probably the most important part of Stargazer. You are not doing this with a purpose. You are not doing this to induce a lucid dream. The moment you start to categorize intentions or categorize ideas, you are moving away from witnessing. Just witness. That doesn't mean fight ideas when they arrive, because that's also moving away from witnessing. Witness them, let them happen, be apathetic. You are doing this without willpower, without intention. You are an observer, you are learning. Think of Stargazer as an ongoing lesson. Step 4, whatever happens, happens. Learn from the experience. Now, ideally, I know we all want to have a lucid dream, but we are entirely in the hands of fate and conditions and variables that are out of our control. If REM is inbound, then you don't need to do anything for that to occur. You simply need to watch and wait. And what might happen in this process is, for example, you're laying there staring into the darkness of space. You might see a completely convincing shooting star, or a plane, or a satellite, or maybe someone will come down and look into your face. At that moment, the dream has started. You are in a lucid dream. But wait, let the dream come to you. It will envelop you. Let it pull you into it. You don't need to do anything. The moment the dream forms, let the dream take you. Maintain your stability, maintain your witnessing mindset. If you employ willpower or reaction, all you're doing is tripping yourself up. That's when the practice fails. You are simply witnessing. Step 5, learn. This practice is a teacher. If you continue to do this practice every time you go to bed, every time you wake up in the night before a morning nap, you will learn so much about how your mind works under many, many different conditions. This is information you won't find anywhere else in the world, not in any lucid dreaming video, not in any lucid dreaming books. This is your perfect lucid dreaming teacher. And this is a technique I've used since I was a child. Back then I used to call it the catching the butterfly technique, and many of my students will know a more advanced version of this called the portal practice. But at its heart, this is one of the simplest and truest and purest forms of lucid dreaming practice that exists. So go stargaze tonight and let me know how you get on in the comments. But until then, watch one of the videos on the screen and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you there.